Greetings, old school magic players, and welcome to the Four Horsemen.
I mean, he's probably going to pop it, even though that puts him down to mana. It also puts Lorenzo down to mana, and maybe not though. Maybe he feels like he needs the. Oh wow, he just takes it. Okay.
Wow, I would have to think that Tim does not have much mana in his hand then. He might be sitting on a 1 or 2 land hand here.
Well, he might also have a Divine Offering in his hand and decided that it's better to save his mana and blow up the factory next turn, and then still have the Strip Mine around for later. Oh, well, there he's got a Fellwar Stone too. So he's chosen to accelerate. He's given up 4 life points to do it because he's going to take another 2 to the chin right here.
Mm-hmm.
Although I guess it stops Lorenzo from casting something else too. So I mean, there's a give and take for sure.
Yeah. This is it's interesting that Lorenzo's just been able to get in for 6 damage with that factory, right? Or 4 damage.
And I would predict that it's not going to hit Tim again now that he's a little bit more set up.
Yeah. Well, what he wants to do is he wants to play his Brassman or his Sage early. Of course, the Sage won't help against that factory. That first turn factory is really strong. But he's really looking for a Brassman here, and looks like he probably doesn't have it.
Yeah, Brassman. Be nice. And then he could just sit back and draw cards.
Yeah. He does have 4 mana now. That factory, I'm surprised he doesn't just go ahead and strip it to get rid of it.
Well, I still think he might have a Divine Offering in hand. If not, he certainly wanted to develop his board. And, oh, hey, yeah, 4/4 is good enough, right?
Wow, Suchi coming down. Turn 3, pretty strong. And, you know, we talked about this earlier in the pregame in Deck Tech. Lorenzo does not have any main deck artifact destruction, so this is his Achilles heel.
A lot better. And also, Tim added this card. It didn't exist in his previous build, and I do think it's nice for him to have some kind of beater.
Yeah, it's really a great card, and like you pointed out, it's got a lot of combo mechanics with his Sage, and you see Lorenzo's just stuck. He's stopped dead in his tracks here. You know, he needs an Argothian Pixie in order to deal with this Suchi, because that's the only thing in his deck that can handle it. You know, he could block with his Suchi, and then the damage is reduced to 0. So all of a sudden, turn 3, Tim just jumps into the lead with this early Suchi, and Lorenzo is in trouble.
Well, I mean, Tim has basically become the aggro player in this match, which is kind of interesting because that's supposed to be Lorenzo's role here, looking at the decks. And, I mentioned that Lorenzo's deck is a little light on creatures. I think you're seeing the results of that here. He hasn't dropped anything, and now Tim's just going to beat in. There's a 5-turn clock now.
Yeah. One maneuver Lorenzo may have here, if he has a Bloodlust in hand, he could activate his factory with the forest, assign it to block, and after the block is assigned, he could bloodlust it, right? And then it would become a 6/1.
Yeah.
And that would destroy the Suchi. So if he's is he going to do exactly what I'm thinking? Look, he's about to tap that forest. Nope. Okay, so he must not have the bloodlust then. I think if he did have it, he probably would go for it, because then Tim would take 4 mana burn damage, and now's the time to do it because the Sage has summoning sickness.
Yeah, that's true. He wouldn't be able to draw off at this turn.
Oh wow! So
oh man, that's just rubbing salt in the wound. He blows up the city of.
Wow, that is okay. Something. Look at that.
Good answer.
John, are you seeing this?
Yeah, Maze of Ith is a pretty good answer.
Oh, that's really interesting. So Tim decides to try to cripple Lorenzo by strip mining his only red mana, which is that City of Brass. And then Lorenzo plays Maze of Ith next turn. Now he can deal with that Suchi, and he hits in with the Factory for 2 more damage, bringing Tim down to 14 after all. So now we're 14 to 16. And Tim loses a mana there. You know, he had his 4 mana for his Juxtapose combo if he needed it down the road. So if you're Tim here, what do you do now?
Be sad that you used your 1 strip mine and now Maze is sitting over there.
Yeah.
I mean, he can attack and it's just going to get Maze, so I don't really see the value in that. I mean, he could have swung with both and got in 1 point of damage. But I guess he wants to use his Sage and up.
Yeah, look at this.
He's going to do the combo where he gets the mana and a card.
Right. So he's got the 4 mana, and
drop a Trike or a Tetravus or something. Oh, well, not Tetravus that he can split next turn, and he can start attacking in the air without having to worry about the Maze.
Right. Pretty slick move on Tim's part. Getting that Suchi sacked, draws a card, gets the 4 mana, and can play the Tetravus. That's pretty strong. And now Tim will be in position. He can either draw cards off of all those Tetravites over time, or can get in for damage in the air. So Lorenzo gets a Pixies here. That may be instrumental, because Tim cannot block with his artifact creatures.
He can trade the Sage for it, though.
Yeah, but does he want to? Right now, that card draw engine is pretty strong. I don't know if
cool, but really just having all those flyers that are going to be able to poke in every turn. You know, he's going to be doing 3 flying damage starting next turn. So that, and if any of them happen to, you know, get killed, he could sack it for a card.
Yeah. So it looks like he attacks with the Tetravus.
What?
Ooh, why is...
This is why you should always do it, even if, like, the person has a maze, because for some weird reason he didn't maze it. Like, he wants to try, some kind of trick or something next turn with it? I don't know, but he just took it.
Oh, another Sage coming down. Wow. So now Tim can afford to block the Argothian Pixies, so maybe holding on to that Maze of Ith was really a smart move on Lorenzo's part.
With the Sage and the Brassman and the Tetravites and the early Suchi, like, he's consistently out-aggroing Lorenzo, even though he's kind of he's basically just playing aggro over there, blue-white aggro. It's pretty fun.
Wow, yeah. Tim's just really, really come out strong here. Lorenzo's on his back foot very quickly. Okay, so Tim is sacking the Brassman to the Sage of Latnam right away to draw, because the brass man is completely useless in this scenario.
What do you think he's looking for, or just he just feels like that card's never going to do anything? Because I mean, I don't think that Lorenzo's going to swing, but if the brass man does still block factory, and it does attack if there's no pixies on defense. I mean, I guess it dies to a factory that pumps itself on defense, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it just wasn't a good enough card to stick around. He rather would just have something else. But I think the position that Lorenzo's in right now is kind of rough. He's hurting for mana. You know, he's got Pyrotechnics in his deck as a 4 of. So if he can get up to 5 mana, he could pick off all those 1/1s in one shot. But he doesn't have the mana for that right now.
Yeah, he's really hurting. That strip mine taking out his city has really slowed him down. Now, did he just use Chain Lightning? What is he targeting there?
He killed the sages.
Okay, yeah, he killed the sage. Okay.
I believe he's swinging here. He's really aggressive. I mean, I guess he has to be because he just has no other play.
Well, he's still got the factory. I mean, I think he should attack with the factory as well. Why not?
I mean, he might as well, right? Like, if the plan is to swing, he should also be swinging with factory because he would have got in for 4. Because it's not like Tim was going to block with Tetravites or whatever.
Right.
He wants to be able to put those in the air.
Yeah, I really feel like he should have, but maybe maybe Tim would have double blocked and sacked one of the Tetravites. Possibly, I don't know. So, all right, so Tim just attacks in for 3 in the air, bringing.
Well, his sage was tapped and his other sage was dead, so he couldn't have drawn a card or anything. But yeah, I don't know. If it was me, I would have attacked. But then again, maybe he really wants to get up to 4 or 5 mana.
Yeah,
and he's worried that he trades that factory, he won't be able to play his other spells.
Right. What he does not want to play here is an Erhnam Djinn, and that's what I'm worried about him doing. He needs, if he see that City of Brass being stripped early, he would be at 4 mana right now, and his next land that he drops would be his 5th, and he could play Pyrotechnics and wipe out all those Tetravites. Meanwhile, Suchi's coming down on Tim's side, so Lorenzo really needs a mountain here, and maybe another direct damage spell. Okay, so he's tapping his factory, leaving his mountain open. And he's got the pixies to block the Suchi, so that's something. He is at 12, and Tim's at 12, so they're tied up. If he has a Chain Lightning here, that would be probably the best he could hope for to chain that Sage.
Yeah. I don't know. This is going to be tough. I mean, usually Sylvan Library is a great card, but I feel like it's kind of awkward right now.
Yeah, it's just not gonna. I mean, it might help. It might help Lorenzo dig for direct damage or maybe a land. If he's holding a Pyrotechnics, that could be a game changer in this scenario. So he may be able to dig for it. We'll just have to wait and see. He's really thinking over there. He's got what, 4, 5 cards in hand, and Tim's also got 5. He's really giving this some consideration. He can stave off a few damage. You know, he can block. If the Suchi attacks, he can block the Suchi with the Pixies, and he can maze one of the Tetravites. So he could potentially only take 3 damage. And if he comes into another damage spell, he's really got to try and take out that Sage of Latnam to put Tim off his drawing engine. Just pass his turn. Wow, it's looking tough for Lorenzo here.
Yeah, it's been rough from the outset, and it doesn't seem to be getting much better. So I guess he'll just come in with the Tetravites and the Tetravis itself. I don't think there's any value in attacking with the Stucci.
Well, one thing he may do is he could play Juxtapose here if he really wanted to, and take the Pixies and he could give Lorenzo his Tetravis, which is just the 1/1 flyer, and then he could get in with that Suchi, possibly, if he didn't have the maze. It might be worth it to take that Pixie away.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, actually. I don't hate that, like taking away his protection guy and just giving him a 1/1 for it.
Yeah, he's got 3 Juxtapose in his deck, and hopefully Lorenzo spent some time looking at the deck photos. I don't think he did any practice matches or anything like that, so Lorenzo may not be all that familiar with the Juxtapose combo. All right, so Lorenzo just takes the damage from he mazes the main Tetravis, and takes the 3 Tetravite. Tim plays another Fell War, continuing to ramp up. Oh, and a Workshop. Wow, look at that. So now he's got 6 mana all of a sudden. And there it is. Probably Triskelion. There he is. Boom. Mr. Stout himself. We were just talking about that in the pregame, and boy, that card makes a huge difference here. Okay, so will Lorenzo come into some damage to try to deal with this Sage?
I mean, he still can't kill the Pixies with it, though, so I don't know that it's that much better than anything else. He can use it as a really expensive lightning bolt if he gets Lorenzo down to 3.
Right. Now, here's where Lorenzo has to be very careful. If he studied Tim's deck, he's going to be very tempted to play Erhnam Djinn here. But given, the game as it has progressed, I would be willing to bet that Tim is sitting on a Juxtapose. And so if he plays that Erhnam Djinn, I'm sure Tim will be taking it. So
I feel like the advantage is already so heavy in Tim's favor that I'm not even really sure what Lorenzo can do. I think game 1's pretty much an afterthought. Hopefully game 2 Lorenzo can come out faster and, get us to game 3. I always like to see 3 games if we can.
Yeah. Well, Lorenzo's only hope here is perhaps a land next turn, a mountain, and Pyrotechnics. If he gets a Pyrotechnics, he can take out the Sage for 2 and 2 of the 1/1 flyers, and at least reduce this army down. He does have the Maze of Ith, which is really helping him out, and the Pixies can block one of the artifact creatures on the ground, either the Suchi or the Triskelion. But I would also predict that probably next turn, Tim's is going to play Juxtapose anyway to get this Pixie out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, if the Pixie's out of the way, he's suddenly swinging with 2 4/4s plus all the other dudes.
Right.
I mean, Maze will take care of one of them, but not both.
Yeah. Really tough scenario for Lorenzo. And, I think overall this is a very tough matchup. But this is also showing the vulnerability that Lorenzo's deck has of having absolutely no artifact destruction whatsoever. Not even a Scavenger Folk or a Crumble, a Detonate, nothing. So he's very vulnerable to these heavy artifact decks.
Detonate would be good against Suchi for sure. It's interesting that, Lorenzo made it all this way. So obviously his deck has been running hot the rest of the tournament, but
okay, so
it's kind of rough when you make it to the finals and then you just play a game like this that just feels completely hopeless.
So Lorenzo just chain lightning Tim to the face and did not chain his Sage. I'm very confused by that.
Well, he needs to try to kill him before he dies. So, I mean, that's the right play. Who cares about this point? It's a race. It's a race that Lorenzo's going to lose, but it's still a race. He needs to kill him somehow. I mean, maybe if he has 2 Pyrotechnics in hand and, draws a land and just can start firing off burn, he can try to kit Tim down. I don't know.
Yeah. So Tim comes in with all 4 1/1 flyers. It's like Lorenzo can maze 1, take 3, and Lorenzo will drop from 9 to 6. So he's hanging on by a thread. Oh, wow, look at this. Triskelion number 2. Boom. And that's game. Just like that. Wow, what a rough match for Lorenzo. Okay, John, so let's talk about sideboards. If you are Lorenzo, what are you going to sideboard in here?
Well, certainly the crumbles that he has, but
Yeah,
I don't know what to work with, really. I mean, I don't know. It's rough. I mean, he could try to, like, lean into those extra Infernos and try to, like, kind of play board control somehow, because, you noticed how many guys Tim had out, but he'd have to get to 7 mana for that, and that seems rough.
Yeah, I would not go that route. If I'm Lorenzo, I'm looking at my Stormseekers here. The Crumbles are also a really bad matchup if you're trying to burn your opponent out. It's just not, you don't want to be giving them life. You really need those Scavenger Folk, or you need the Detonates, not the Crumbles when you're trying to burn. So I'm just thinking things like the Jaloom Tomes. Probably the 2 extra Jaloom Tomes should come out. I don't think he's... I don't know if he's going to even be able to get to 6 mana to play his Triskelions before his opponent's going to be running him over. I would definitely take out those 2 Winds of Change. I don't think he needs those. That's 4 cards, and he can put in the 4 active Volcanoes. And I don't know. Should he take out his Inferno?
Active Volcano is not even that good. It kills Sage of Latlan, but that's it. Like, Tim's not playing any other blue creatures, so, like, it's kind of rough.
Yeah, but nonetheless, he needs the chains to deal with the Brassman and the other threats. So I still think those active Volcanoes are worth it, because Tim's entire draw engine works off of having the Sages, and at least those active Volcanoes can get rid of the Sage and save your burn for the other stuff, the other creatures.
Scavenger Folk would also be good here, because it would just be another body. Like, I don't think Lorenzo has enough creatures in his deck. And, like, he really needs to come out strong against Tim and beat in for some damage early. And we just didn't do that at all.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll hit double Kurt Ape or something. We'll see.
Right. The Blood Moons are not particularly great, but they're not terrible. They might be good for the long game. I think I would take out 1 Blood Moon and put in the Crumble, and I would maybe take out what else can you pull out here?
I think Blood Moon's a trap. I don't think that it's better than maybe some other kind of offensive card that he could have, because Tim's gonna eventually be able to play his stuff anyway, and he's got a lot of colorless stuff to do while he's waiting around. Turning his stuff into mountains is not.
Yeah, it's not great. But Lorenzo's got to do something. And, those active Volcanoes and Crumbles only costing 1 might give him time to get his mana out. I think he's probably never going to get to 7 mana to play Inferno. So I would definitely pull Inferno out and put in that other Crumble and take out one of the Blood Moons and put in the second Crumble. And then, like I said, pull the 2 Jaloom Tomes and the 2 Winds of Change and put in the active Volcanoes. Although the Winds of Change might be a good answer to Juxtapose. If Lorenzo's thinking his opponent's holding Juxtapose, he could play his Erhnam and then play Winds of Change and maybe get rid of it, but it's still a gamble.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't love the active Volcanoes, really.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they do hit the Sage, but they don't hit anything else, and so the odds of them just being like kind of a dead card in your hand is a little scary for me. I don't love it.
Right.
Seems pretty okay though, because Tim was holding cards even when he played a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be a real hard road uphill battle for Lorenzo any way you cut it. For Tim, his sideboard, he's got the 3 Flash Floods, the 1 Greater Realm of Preservation, and I think those are probably the 4 cards that Tim would want. He could swap out his Wizard and maybe his Rocket Launcher, and he doesn't really need the Divine Offering since Lorenzo's not running hardly any artifacts except for the Jaloom Tome and the Triskelion. So I think I would take out the Apprentice Wizard, the Divine Offering, and the Rocket Launcher, and I would put in the Greater Realm and a couple of Flash Floods. What do you think about that, John?
I don't really think he needs the sideboard against Lorenzo's deck much at all. Certainly the Greater Realm would be fine just because Lorenzo has so much burn. But I feel like Tim's main deck game plan worked out pretty well against Lorenzo.
Yeah, agreed. All right, the guys are shuffling back up, and they've sideboarded. We'll switch back over. All right, Lorenzo's rolling to do the pile of 6 for Tim, to put a random pile on top. And if you're Lorenzo here, are you taking the play, John? Obviously, you...
Yeah, I think he needs to. I mean, he needs to try to get out ahead of Tim.
Yeah. Okay, Lorenzo is taking a mulligan there. He probably didn't have, Kurt Apes and Chain Lightnings. So that's really what he wants in his opening hand. Another thing I was thinking, John, is given that the Erhnam Djinns are such a high-risk card for Lorenzo, do you think there's a scenario where he could just sideboard out the Erhnams, sideboard in the 2 Crumbles and the 2 Stormseekers?
Maybe if he had more creatures. I just think it's like he's already so light on creatures that it's... I don't know, he's just threat light. But like you said, maybe you just try to be a burn deck.
Yeah, he's got 15 creatures total. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see what he ends up sideboarding. We can talk to him after the game and see what he puts in and takes out. Okay, so Lorenzo's putting 1 on the bottom here. Looks like he's going to keep this one. Okay, and a first turn force. He doesn't even get that first turn Kurt Ape. That's not what he wants to see. He really wants that turn 1 Kurt Ape. And didn't get it. Wow. Land, pass. Not a great start for Lorenzo.
Not where he wants to be, really.
Got folks joining in. So we got Lucas Santos, Chris Sternad, Jim Rice, Jack Clegg, all spectating along with you, me, Tim, and Lorenzo. Nice little crew here. Four Horsemen, Old School Magic Sunday afternoon. Okay, so turn to Sage of Latnam for Tim. And Lorenzo gets a Taiga. Is he just going to pass turn here?
If he does, it's pretty rough. I mean, if he mulled and then also is just dropping lands and playing nothing, I mean, I just don't even...
He did put in the active volcanoes, and that is an excellent answer to the Sage of Latnam. This is exactly what Lorenzo wants to do here. Now he can...
fine. Like, it's been 3 turns and he hasn't played anything and he just killed him. And Tim doesn't care. He's just going to play something else. I just don't know how good it actually is.
Well, what we've seen from the prior matches all throughout the tournament is Tim's deck really operates on Juxtapose and Sage of Latnam. And so at least he's taking out one of the key operating cards early. Not a great play, but good enough. And Rocket Launcher coming down with the Workshop again early for Tim. And getting that big Rocket Launcher down.
Well, Rocket Launcher Workshop's kind of awkward because you can't use the Workshop mana to activate it. So, yeah, cool, he's got a 4-cost artifact, but he can only do 1 damage with it.
Yeah, it's not great right now. Maybe it'll be relevant late game.
Yeah, it's just optimizing his mana so that he can, play other things and have it for later. But especially given the fact that he knows Lorenzo doesn't have much artifact removal, it doesn't really hurt to just put it out there and then leave it there until he can use it.
Yeah. Well, and he's probably planning on sacking it to the Sage to draw. And Sage number 2 comes down on turn 4 for Tim.
I kind of like Tim's method of the 1 big dice that's a different color in the middle for his hand size. That's good.
Yeah, that's really convenient. It's a great way to show your opponents, and he's pretty good about his hand count. Tim's got a great angle too. You can see his hand, see what's going on. Same as Lorenzo. It's nice that these guys have wider views and nice setups for both of them.
Oh, he brought in the Beasts of Bogarden.
So well, that's good, right? More creatures.
This means he also brought in the Infernos.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, and he's up to 5 mana. He's dropped a land every turn. He was kind of mana screwed game 1. He's not mana screwed now. So the Beasts of Bogarden are a 3/3 protection from red. In 2 more land counts, Lorenzo will be able to play Inferno. And you're right. If he went the Inferno route, which it looks like he did, he sideboarded in the extra 2 Infernos and the extra Bogartons. Maybe he did sideboard out the those Winds of Change and a couple of the Jaloom Tomes. And he put in at least a few of the active volcanoes. He'll have to watch out, though, because...
I'm going to be a little depressed if he juxtaposes and steals his beasts and kills him with it.
I was just about to say that. He's going to have to watch out for Juxtapose here.
Because he can't... all his removal's red. So, if he just steals that and just starts beating in, I don't know what Lorenzo can actually do about it.
Yeah, that is actually a really good point. Tim does not have his 4th mana here, so if I were him, I would just be sacking that Rocket Launcher to go straight for the draw to get into my mana so I could Juxtapose and steal that beast. Lorenzo will need a Erhnam Djinn to be able to handle it, or a small creature with Bloodlust. Otherwise, he'll just get run over by that beast. I guess he could play Triskelion or Tetravus here. Tim could, since he's got that Workshop. Man, what a powerful card to have early game. It might not be too bad for Lorenzo to play Blood Moon, but he may have taken it out.
I'm thinking he probably took it out to make space. I don't know how good it actually would have ended up being in this match. Much like the active volcano, on one level it seems like it's good, but it's also occupying space that could be something else more aggressive. Although in his build, I don't know that there is anything else. So it's a little tough.
So Tim went the route that I was thinking. He's recognizing what you were recognizing, that rocket launcher is kind of useless here. So he goes ahead and sacks it to the stage, and he draws into his land, and that's exactly what we were talking about and worried about. Juxtapose coming down, stealing the beast, and now Tim's got a protection from red 3/3, right?
Yeah, and I mean, what can he do? I mean, he can play an Erhnam to try to block it. Is really his only defense against a pro red.
Yeah, it's just not a good strategy. The whole Inferno Beast of Bogardan it's a terrible strategy against Tim's Juxtapose deck. It's not good.
Well, I think we'll see an Erhnam here, and then that will force Tim to decide whether he wants to like play another Juxtapose and steal the Erhnam, or play, I don't know. Well, I guess he doesn't have one because he's looting. So he's just looking to see if he can find something better. Pitches a Curd Ape. That's, I don't know.
Now, if he had a Curd Ape earlier, that would have been a much better card to play than the Beasts.
Yeah, I mean, playing a 2/3 that he could be swinging with I don't know. I mean, he never got to swing with the Beasts, right? But like, I don't know what's going on. Discarding a card that could potentially be attacking, if there's nothing to block it.
Okay, so Tim did not take out his Divine Offering. He left it in there. That's a 1-of in Tim's deck. So he gains 3 life, and that takes out the Jaloom Tome, which Lorenzo really needed there. It's looking really bad for Lorenzo here.
I kind of hate to see it because, like, it sucks to make it all the way to the finals and then just have no real hope of winning. But like, he mulled that second game and didn't really play anything impressive with his new hand of cards. And Tim's deck is just doing what it does. It hasn't come out super strong like the first game, but it's come out strong enough. Oh, he sacks the book to draw a card. That's
right. He sacks it in response because the Sage comes into play on his side, swapped out for the Beast, right? So he's able to.
Yeah, but how long ago did that all happen? Did that happen long enough ago that Sage doesn't have summoning sickness?
Yeah, that was the last turn.
Yeah, I guess that's fine. I guess I'd rather have the card than the life, especially since he's at 20 still.
Yeah, so he's able to sack that.
Well, I guess Tim got the life, right? Because it's
Tim would have gotten the life, but of course he doesn't get it now. And then he gets in for 3, bringing Lorenzo to 17. It's still looking pretty rough for Lorenzo here. Oh my goodness. Rocket launcher number 2 coming down. That's going to be tough for Lorenzo because now Tim's really starting to build up some mana, so he can probably save up and pop that rocket launcher. You can do it twice if you do it at the right timing, at the end of the opponent's end step, and then you can do it again at the next end step on your turn. Okay, 6 mana. There's a Triskelion. Does Tim have a Mana Drain or a Remove Soul? He does not. Wow. Now, this is an amazing answer to that Beast of Bogardan, John. It's the only answer Lorenzo has other than Erhnam Djinn. So he can shoot that Beast of Bogardan for 3 and get rid of it.
He doesn't even shoot it. He now has a colorless 4/4 that can block it, which is pretty good. I didn't think about the trikes at all. He didn't make it to enough mana game 1 to really play anything big like that, but I forgot they were in there. Trike's always good. Trike hitting the board is always solid.
Yeah, this is probably the best card Lorenzo could have possibly hoped for in this scenario. And it's also...
And it's not like Tim's going to want to play another Juxtapose, because then Lorenzo would just shoot the arms off in response and give him a 1/1 for his beasts.
Right. Yeah, it's an excellent answer, Triskelion, to the Juxtapose combo. All right, so Tim plays an island, and he's got a lot of mana here. 2, 4, 6 mana that he could pump in. So he could do 3 damage with that rocket launcher. He could attack with the beasts. Ooh, what's Lorenzo doing here? So Lorenzo is just straight up shooting the beasts. Wow. I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, I think that's a terrible move.
Yeah, he should just leave it as a 4/4, right?
Yeah, what the value at all was of that. Like, having a colorless 4/4 was plenty good. You know, and if you know, Tim got tricky, he always could have done that. He always could have shot the arms off if he needed to.
Maybe he wanted to do this so that he could just start attacking again. Maybe he's, you know, maybe he wants to just start coming in with the factory and maybe a pixie.
I guess he's got factory, so he can come in for 4 total.
Yeah, and maybe he wants to tempt Tim into popping his rocket launcher. That's he could lose that factory here to the rocket launcher because it's only a 2/2.
He could kill the rocket launcher and the trike right now, or he could kill the sage and the trike. I mean, I don't know.
I think it's very tempting, but Tim's got plenty of life. It's only 3 damage.
Well, it's only 3 damage right now, but if he just keeps letting him do this every turn, Tim's got 2 cards in his hand. They apparently aren't anything that's been worth playing yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, how good is Rocket Launcher going to be later when he already could use it as a 2-for-1 right now?
Yeah. Now Lorenzo's
so it's almost like a 3-for-1.
Yeah. Lorenzo's playing Argothian Pixies here. That's pretty good.
Doesn't die to Rocket Launcher, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that Triskelion is really going to throw off Tim's game. So Tim may end up popping the Rocket Launcher on the Triskelion because he can't do his Juxtapose shenanigans as long as that Triskelion is down on his opponent's side.
Well, right, but if he's going to do that, he might as well have just done it before he took the 3 damage.
Agreed, yeah. It looks like he's thinking about it, though.
Killed the factory and the trike.
Yeah, he could have killed them both. And he can still kill them. He hasn't gone to his turn yet. He's really thinking it over.
I mean, maybe he wants to kill them both and get the benefit of keeping the rocket launcher around for 1 more turn, and then also kill the sage.
Yeah.
Like maybe that was worth taking 3 damage to him.
Yes, that's what he's doing. So he's gonna before the end of his opponent's instep, he activates the rocket launcher, and then he can. No! It can't target that. Hey guys, that's an illegal play there. The Argothian Pixies cannot be damaged by artifacts.
Or is it just artifact creatures?
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, let's check. Hold on, guys. Let's check the Gatherer.
It's just artifact creatures, Chad.
Oh, okay. 1 second. So, let's see. Argothian Pixies. This creature can't be blocked by artifacts? By artifact creatures. Okay. Alright, yeah, so let's go back. Okay, guys, yeah, that's right. The Argothian Pixies cannot be dealt damage by artifact creatures and can't be blocked by artifacts. So, yes, the rocket launcher, it's not an artifact creature, so it can damage the Pixies. They don't have protection from artifacts. All right, so that was correctly played. Interesting move there. So Tim's going to be able to use his rocket launcher twice. So he does 1 damage to the factory, it looks like. And he does 1 damage to the pixie. Is that what he's doing?
Well, no, I think he just needs to kill the factory. Do 2 to the factory, and then on his turn, do 2 to the other. The damage doesn't stick around.
Right, it doesn't transfer between turns. Here, let's see what the guys are saying.
Saying hot mic, guys. Your mics are hot. We can hear you talking about what I should shoot damage to.
Oh, sorry, guys. Okay, I'll remove.
Okay, so
are you muted, John?
Can I still sack
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
for
You,
the
you
stage?
sacked it in when
Yeah,
I
I
tried.
can. I sack this to draw one. Okay, and
Okay.
yeah, that's fine for me. So you
All right.
kill my pixies and the Mishra. Yeah.
Untap.
Okay, so John, Lorenzo sacrificed his. John, is your mic live?
Yeah, he sacrificed it to draw a card because it was gonna die anyway from damage.
He sacrificed it using the sage.
Yeah.
They're saying my mic is still on, but my mic is not on. Is your mic on whereby?
It was, but it's not now.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like your mic was on. Okay. So okay, so here we're seeing the power of the rocket launcher being able to be activated twice, once at the end of turn. And we got some thumbs up from Tim, so yeah, we're correctly muted now. And let's see. If you're Lorenzo, you've just got a 1/1 Triskelion and the 1/2 Sage. So probably Tim's gonna be shooting off that rocket launcher again for another 3 damage. Did Tim take the damage from the City of Brass?
I don't have any idea.
Hey Tim, did you take your damage from tapping the City of Brass last turn? Okay. Alright, so Tim draws, and
I assume if I wasn't paying enough attention to know, they probably did it.
alright, so here he goes again. 4 damage. So he's killing the 2 damage to the Sage and 1 to the Triskelion, and the rocket launcher is sacrificed.
At the cost of 3 life, he has successfully used his rocket launcher as a board wipe.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But like you said, I think he could have done it exactly the same way, right? And not taken the 3 damage.
No, he would have only, because then his rocket launcher would have went away.
It would have went away. Okay, so he took the 3 damage in order to be able to use it twice.
He can throw that sage in his graveyard now that's upside down.
Yeah. Hey, the Sage on the other side, Tim, is in the graveyard. Okay. Now, Lorenzo's sitting on 3 cards, 6 mana. Is this a Blood Moon? 1, 2, 3. It is. But doesn't help here. It's just kind of a dead card.
Doesn't do anything. Tim's already got more than 6 mana to play 6 drops. He's already got both his colors. In fact, it makes his City of Brass better.
Right. And it also turns off his Hammerheim, which if he's going to stick to playing Erhnams, that Hammerheim could be instrumental. And it turns off Lorenzo's Mazavith. So I don't like this play at all.
And his duels. Like, I don't know. Like, so now he only has 1 green to work with every turn instead of 3 green?
Yeah, this is a terrible play on Lorenzo's part.
I think that it's just much worse for Lorenzo than it is for Tim. And I mean, I'm sure he just wants to use his mana or whatever, but like, there's no value in playing that card right now.
Right. I mean, he should have just held on to it. If he has another Jaloom Tome, he can always cycle it away. And it turns off his Mazavith, which he might need later in this game. I don't like this play at all.
Yeah, I think it sucks. It's like I said, you know, Blood Moon's a bit of a double-edged sword anyway, and I think it's a bit of a trap. And certainly playing it there was not great.
Yeah. So.
And look at Tim. I don't care what color my mana is. I'm casting Trike.
Yeah, it's just so ineffective. It basically, like you said, it turns his City of Brass into a mountain, so now it doesn't damage him, and his workshop still taps as a mountain, so really don't like that. Now, Lorenzo is ramping up here. He does have his 7 mana now, so it is possible that Lorenzo could play Inferno, but would it even be good here? It would take out the Triskelion, but he'll just...
Yeah, I mean, I'd still play it, because otherwise he's going to just take 4 to the face every turn. Like,
yeah.
If he had just, like, wrath the board.
Yeah, what he needs here is another Argothian Pixies, or...
I mean, he'll take 9, and Tim will take 6, but, like, he should still do it.
Yeah.
Because, like, otherwise, if he lets it stick around, and then he'll be able to play something on his own turn. Oh, he's got a fissure? No, he's got a pyrotechnics.
Yeah. Well, that's probably the best he could hope for. Now, it's a sorcery, so
we're on Lorenzo's turn apparently now.
So if you're Tim and you have a mana drain here, would you use the mana drain to counter this?
Yeah, I think so. Just cause having a 4/4 to beat in was pretty good, but
So
he didn't.
He just shoots him for 3 and
die.
lets the Triskelion die. So what that tells me is, Tim is being very disciplined. Even if he does have a mana drain, he's going to hold on to it for something more critical down the road.
He also might have like another Trike or a Tetravis or like some other threat to play to drop this turn.
Yeah.
Or is he just gonna pass with 4? Oh, that's sad. No threats to deploy.
Okay, so
he's got triple Juxtapose.
also, Lorenzo is playing Mishra's Factory, and Factory gets turned off by the Blood Moon too, so he won't even be able to get in with his Factory if he comes into it later. Okay, so Lorenzo just passes with 4. Okay, white, and red. We're going to see a Argivian Archaeologist here, which is really bad news for Lorenzo, because now the Triskelions and the rocket launchers that are in the graveyard can come back. So
yeah, he needs to kill it. Like, he needs to kill it immediately before he can get value out of it, because if he starts recurring stuff with that, it's just going to be game.
Yeah, so here I would assume that Tim is playing this because he can protect it with his counterspell. So he probably has a mana drain in hand. Otherwise, I don't think he would risk putting this out
He
there.
might also have his 1 flash counter out of the board, which couldn't do the pyrotechnics, but it could counter an Inferno, or can't counter chain lightning either though. So like, that's kind of interesting. But
yeah, so Lorenzo continues to play lands, so he's not planning on Jaloon Toming stuff away. He's got 4 cards.
What's the value in him having 8 land? Like, what's good about that? I think I would hold the extra 1.
I would too. Yeah.
7 is the biggest thing he has to cast.
Right. There's no need to go beyond that. Okay, so Boomerang is another option, and that's what he has. So he can deal 3 to Tim and 1 to the Argivian, and then the Argivian gets boomeranged back to hand. That's pretty slick on Tim's part.
Yeah. I'm not sure how many cards Lorenzo has. Probably like 2 or 3, I
think
guess.
he has 3 now, because he played a land and played a pyrotechnics. He had drawn up to 4 and then played 2 cards. Okay, so the Argivian Archaeologist comes back. And Lorenzo's going to need a Chain Lightning or another Pyrotechnics to deal with that. And he's already used 2 Pyrotechnics and 1 Chain. So he's got 2 more Pyrotechnics and 3 more Chain Lightnings. A Triskelion would also be really good. Looks like he does have the Chain Lightning. Will Tim have Boomerang number 2 or Mana Drain?
Well, if he hasn't, now's the time to use it, because I feel like the Archaeologist is pretty important to stay out there. It's his path to victory.
Ooh, wow. No. He doesn't have it. I think he would Mana Drain if he did. So really fortunate Lorenzo had that Chain Lightning. That's a narrow escape there for Lorenzo. He's hanging in this game, but he's still not in a great position. He needs a threat, but Tim is also, going to be
Tim's not playing anything, but it almost makes me wonder: is he baiting Lorenzo to like play a Erhnam and then he'll just like play a 1-drop and play a Juxtapose?
That's precisely what he's doing. Yeah.
Like have creatures in his hand, but he's just not playing them because he doesn't need to.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what he's doing. Okay, now this might be a card worthy of mana draining. Sylvan Library. It looks like Tim doesn't have it. I think he would mana drain this, but maybe not. If he wants to, maybe he wants to hold on to that mana drain for the Infernos.
Possibly.
Tim plays another land. Not sure why he needs to do that. I think I would just hold that in hand. Okay, so Lorenzo's able to dig with the Sylvan here. Knowing he's got Infernos, he's probably not going to ever take more than one and take the damage. Takes one card. And he's tapping his green in one, and there's the Pixies. Okay, so he's finally got a threat down. And Tim's looking at his hand immediately. So he could have Spirit Links in hand to answer these Pixies. He could have a Tawnos Coffin. He could have a Removed Soul. So maybe he's thinking about Removed Soul here. Yeah, I bet you Tim, yep, that's exactly right. He doesn't have any other answers for those Pixies, so the Removed Soul comes down, countering a summon spell, so it counters those Pixies. Rough spot for Lorenzo there. That was one of his key threats that was also protected against the Triskelion and could get through for 2 damage. So it's really rough for Lorenzo to get that spell countered. So,
look at all that mana on board between the two of them.
Yeah, I don't know why these guys are playing so many lands. I guess Tim is playing his lands because he knows Lorenzo's got Stormseekers, and maybe he doesn't want to be in that Stormseeker range. But here comes Jaloom Tome, and that's going to be a drawing engine for Tim. Let's hope Lorenzo sideboarded in those 2 crumbles. He uses it immediately to draw and discards a land, a Tundra. Okay, so Lorenzo did not respond. I guess that means he does not have any crumbles. Otherwise, he'd want to get rid of that Jaloom Tome right away. Okay, Lorenzo goes to 5 cards in hand and passes. Draw, pass, draw, pass. Now Tim's going to be Jaloom Toming every game, or every turn, to draw another card, discarding away all his extra lands that he does not need. Tim has drawn a lot of land this game. I think that's one of the few things that's let Lorenzo survive here.
I love seeing a City of Brass and a Workshop tapped to activate a tome.
Yeah.
I think that's like not something you see very often.
Right. Yeah, the Blood Moon, it's just not doing Lorenzo any favors here. All right, so Tim, Jaloom Toming again.
Lorenzo also only still has 1 green, I think.
1 forest, yep. Now, none of his cards in his deck take more than 1 green, but he's, like you said, he can't do two things that require green in a turn, which could be important down the road. So Tim's got almost a full grip here. 5 cards, tons of mana. I wonder what Tim sideboarded out, if anything. Okay, Tetravus coming down. Okay, there's a big 4/4 flyer that he can split up. So this is going to be a challenge for Lorenzo here. Although he's got 6 cards.
Between an Inferno and like a Stormseeker, he's not that far off from killing Tim. I mean, a lot of damage could come out of Lorenzo's deck pretty quickly. There's another land, my lord.
Yeah, Lorenzo's getting a lot of land too, and not having Jaloom Tome to cycle some of it away. Okay, so Lorenzo's looking. He hasn't passed turn yet. Maybe you're right. Maybe he does have that Inferno, and now would be a time to play it. Tim's got.
I mean, he could wait. It's an instant, but like he could also, if he's got nothing else to do, he could fire it off, just hoping that Tim doesn't have a counter and doesn't draw one next time.
Yeah,
he doesn't really want 4 from that Tetris, though.
Right. What I would do if I had the Inferno here and I were Lorenzo, I would hope to also I would see if I could wait until this scenario where there's only 2 islands, and I would play that Flash Flood. You know, go to the attack step, play the Flash Flood, and put that island back in his hand. Go to second main and then play the Inferno. But now Tim's untapped everything, and he'll have plenty of blue mana since he's got all these basic islands. Yeah, 10 mana on Lorenzo's side. I guess if he keeps throwing down lands, he could Inferno twice in a turn and do 12 damage. I guess that's a possibility, right? Okay, so here comes the Tetravite tokens, thanks to John.
Do you think breaking him off here was a good thing to do, or she should have just swung for 4?
Well, what that tells me is he's probably got another Sage of Latnam. And yeah, he's playing very conservative. He's only getting in for that 1 in the air. He's going to Jaloom Tome again, it looks like.
I guess it makes it so that they can't all be removed. I mean, they can still be removed by Inferno or by Pyrotechnics, but it stopped him from, I don't know. I don't think there's another card in his deck that kills Tetris. I think splitting it or not splitting it, they either all die or they don't die at all. So I don't know.
Yeah, I would have to assume that he did that because he's hoping to get another Sage. He plays the Brass Man.
But I mean, he doesn't really want to sack him to draw cards if he can just be attacking with them.
Yeah. Maybe this is just bait. Maybe Tim is wanting to bait him into doing the Inferno, and then he can flash counter it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so Lorenzo digs with the Sylvan Library.
I mean, it's a difference of 3 damage, so I guess it probably won't matter at the end of the game. We'll see, though.
Well, Tim's in a pretty good position here. Lorenzo on the back heels, 13 to 13. It's tied up. There's a whole army of artifact creatures that Lorenzo is staring down the barrel of. He just doesn't have much going for him right now. No threats. Tons of lands.
He's dug with Sylvan Library a bunch, too, so I just kind of wonder, like, what he's keeping every turn, you know, because he's not playing anything.
Yeah, well, the thing is when you have Jaloom Tome, oh, here we go. There we go. There's the Inferno.
I hate it.
Does Tim have the mana drain? Yep. He has a Boomerang instead. Okay, so he's boomeranging the Tetravus to his hand. Interesting. So he's going to get that Tetravus back. Everybody takes 6 damage. So Lorenzo's thinking here. What does he have? He's got 3 mana untapped.
Maybe he's got a crumble and he wants to hit it with the... I mean, he should.
If he's got a crumble here, he should definitely crumble that Tetravus. But then...
I mean, I guess he can crumble it after he recasts it.
Yeah,
whichever.
Right. But maybe he wants to hit it next turn, but it looks like he's got it and he's doing it now. Boom. Okay. So
here's the terrible thing, though. So Tim will gain the life for the crumble, right? The 6 for the Tetravus.
Right.
So this basically makes it so that only Lorenzo takes damage from Inferno, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, it is not a good scenario, but you know, Lorenzo's got his back against the wall here, and Tim may have a flash counter or a mana drain. He's really thinking about this. All right, so he gains the 6, putting Tim at 19. And Lorenzo's at 13 and takes 6. So, he goes down to 7.
And he would be at 4 if Tim had not split the Tetris and just attacked for 4. But I don't think it matters that much.
Okay, and then Tim go ahead and takes the 6 himself, bringing it from 19 to 13. So now it's 7 to 13, but at least Lorenzo was able to wipe out Tim's board, and he had that crumble to get rid of that Tetravis as well. This Jaloom Tome is going to keep digging, though, and I kind of, man, I'm really, it's interesting that Lorenzo's held onto that crumble and let Tim just keep digging and drawing with this Jaloom Tome.
Well, he's only has to reserve it for a threat rather than. But then again, I guess the book draws him into those threats.
That's right. Yeah, I mean he's drawn six cards off this Jaloom Tome so far, and he's drawing another one. It may be that Lorenzo came into that crumble in that last Sylvan Library dig on his draw step, and he was just waiting to see what was going to occur with this turn. Okay, so Tim is discarding a Juxtapose. That's a good sign for Lorenzo. That's 2 Juxtapose in the graveyard. There's only 1 left. And now Tim plays Greater Realm of Preservation.
Just more salt in the wound.
Oh, man.
I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to make sure you can't win.
So now Lorenzo can only win this game with Triskelions or Argothian Pixies or Erhnam Djinns. He won't be able to win with his Inferno strategy anymore. So Lorenzo wants to see an Argothian Pixies or a Triskelion here.
I really wish that Circle or Greater Realm was not in the format. Like it kind of bugs me because like I play enough like Unlimited 40 and like R40 and other formats where circles are allowed, and regular Old School of course has circles, and like one of the things that I would have liked to have been gone by eliminating the base set is that functionality. I mean, I know this one's just black and red, but the fact that it exists here and it hoses 2 different colors out of the 5 really, like, I don't know. I don't love it. I guess I don't hate it enough to ban it, but like it's kind of feels bad.
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal. Okay, so Tim is tapping 2 and playing Sage of Latinam number 3. Man, that's those sages. They're actually oh, and there's an active volcano for the sage. That's actually pretty good. That will prevent Tim from.
I mean, again, it's fine, but it's like a card that he's had to sit on all this time that hasn't done anything until like if it could have been something better earlier. I don't know.
Well, he's running low on burn at this point, and like I said, those sages are absolutely the drawing engine of Tim's deck. I still think it's important that Lorenzo sided those active volcanoes in to deal with them so he can save his burn for the other threats.
Tim's maybe this ends just by attacking with a brass man 7 times.
Yeah. We'll yeah, there's the brass man. Yeah, Lorenzo's at 7, so he'll need a chain lightning to be able to deal with that brass man. I guess an Argothian Pixies could also be a blocker that would stop the brass man from attacking.
Yeah.
I know he's gone through 2 Pixies, I believe. I mean, at this point, Tim's in a pretty solid position. He knows he can't lose to the Inferno combo anymore. So here he just kind of sit backs and waits for a Triskelion or that second Tetravis. He won't have to worry about Maze of Ith thanks to this Blood Moon that's been not great for Lorenzo at all. What is this? What is this maneuvering that Tim's doing with the brass man?
I don't know, but if he's deciding whether or not to attack with it, he should. There's no value in not attacking. It's not like Lorenzo's going to whip out a ball lightning.
Right. So Lorenzo really needs Erhnam Djinn or Triskelion here. He may have sideboarded out those Erhnams because we haven't seen one the whole game.
I mean, if he plays an Erhnam, I think Tim will just play the Juxtapose that's sitting in his hand and take it.
Well, but he's only got 3 Juxtapose in his deck, and there's 2 of them in his graveyard. So it's.
I don't think he would have discarded them all if he had unless he had multiples.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he's got the last one in his hand. He does have 4 cards.
Lorenzo. It's a real debate here. I mean, how tough can it be? Like, what could he possibly have to play?
Yeah, I don't know. He's let's listen in here, see if he's saying anything.
And the Brassman is 1-3, right? Okay, well, listen. I have to chain lightning the Brassman.
All right, so Lorenzo chain lightning is the brass man, and that's pretty solid.
It's disastrous because he has mountains. So like now he can bounce it back to Lorenzo, and then if Lorenzo bounces it back again, Tim will bounce it back again.
Yeah,
and that's just gonna be game, I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's gonna have to just let it bounce back to Lorenzo. He can't afford to bounce it back to Tim. So Lorenzo's gonna take 3 damage back, and it'll take him from 7 down to 4.
Yep.
But he didn't have much of a chance there. He didn't have much of a choice, rather. He had to get rid of that brass man if he didn't have a Pixies.
3 now or 3 turns to draw an answer for it. I don't know. I maybe wouldn't have chained it. See, this wouldn't be a problem if Tim didn't have any mountains. But
right.
He has mountains on Blood Moon.
Yeah, this is another reason why Blood Moon is just a terrible, terrible card to play. So Lorenzo goes down to 4. Tim's at 13. You know, Lorenzo also has his Storm Seekers. I don't know if he sideboarded those in. You know, the Storm Seekers would have been a sneaky extra way to get some extra damage in. He's got 2 of them in his deck.
Also, if he would have bounced the chain lightning back at Tim could have just prevented it with the circle and still copied it. So
right.
Like it's real bad.
Yeah.
It's real bad.
Yeah. And this is where, you know, if you're playing green in Four Horsemen, you know, a couple of Desert Twisters in your sideboard, and even one in the main deck is always a good idea because you know you're going to run up against cards like this. And here he draws his Maze of Ith. Now, this could be a Maze of Ith, but it's a mountain because of his own Blood Moon. So it's just...
Yep.
It's really, really, really not great for Lorenzo. He does get his second island or second forest finally very late in the game. So he's looking for Triskelion, Erhnam Djinn if he didn't sideboard it out, and Argothian Pixies. And looks like he doesn't have, well, he's thinking about tapping a green. What's he got? Maybe he sideboarded in his Felden's Cane, and he can recycle all his stuff.
Maybe.
Oh, another Chain Lightning?
Oh, come on, stop. It's so bad.
Why is he doing that?
I don't know. He can just prevent it and bounce it back.
This is terrible. What's going on here? I'm going to listen in here. This is crazy.
Yeah, going to 1.
Maybe it's just suicide. He should copy it again right now to kill himself. He'd be dead right now if he hadn't split that Tetris.
Paying 1 green. 3 red, 2 Stormseeker, 4. You have 5?
5, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so he does have the Storm Seekers. I was wondering if he sided those in, and he does. That's 5 damage. That would bring Tim down to 8, and he's at 1. I wonder why he decided to use that Chain Lightning. Maybe that was...
I guess he just forgot that he could copy it or prevent it. I don't know.
Yeah. Looks like Tim is looking something up here. He's probably trying to pull up the deck photo. Yeah, there. Look at this. He's just straight up looking at the deck photo right in the middle of the game.
He's like, how many of those are there? Do I need to worry about it? Or
Right. Yeah, he's trying to figure out, do I got to mana drain this Stormseeker or not? I mean, it's 5 damage. He's still at 8. Now, what Lorenzo really needs here is a Pixies to come down. But he doesn't have it. So Lorenzo's at 1, Tim's at 8. Now, the challenge now is, Lorenzo's in Triskelion range. I mean, as soon as Tim gets a Triskelion, it's game. Because the Triskelion will come down, and all Lorenzo needs to take is 1 damage. So Lorenzo has to do 8 damage incredibly quickly here, and it can't be a Chain Lightning. Because it'll get bounced.
Yep, it has to be green, and the Stormseeker won't do it. So what is there even? There's nothing.
He needs another Stormseeker, and he needs...
I guess he needs a trike followed by why even cast that?
That's terrible. You don't want to cast that. That is a Juxtapose nightmare. You don't want that card in play. You'd rather discard that card than play it against Tim.
There's no value in playing it when he's got the Circle of Protection.
That's right.
Out.
With the Greater Realm,
prevent it.
He can just prevent it. So it's I don't know. That's not a great play. You don't really want to give Tim a 3/3 protection from red guy. So Tim draws. He goes to 7 cards. Plays a Sage. And 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the Juxtapose. I guarantee it. Right? So, yep. Just a terrible, terrible move on Lorenzo's part. In response, ooh, look at this. So he's going to active Volcano. Oh, now that's interesting. So now the Sage gets destroyed before the Juxtapose resolves. So now, that's a smart move on Lorenzo's part. Now
nothing happens.
Now Tim doesn't have a creature to give Lorenzo, so he won't be able to steal the Beast of Bogardan. That's a really smart move on Lorenzo's part. Bravo. What a great play. I still don't like him putting the Beast of Bogardan in play at all.
No, terrible. Like, it's still really bad to even have it out because it can't hurt Tim.
Well, now that all 3 Juxtaposes are gone, if this is Lorenzo's strategy, I do think that's pretty smart. Because at least he'll have a blocker for, another Brass Man or something that comes down. Boy, this match has really, really taken quite a few interesting turns, but the writing is on the wall for Lorenzo. He's at 1 life. As soon as Tim gets a Triskelion, it's just game.
The question is, how does Tim do him the 1 damage? Just Triskelion, I guess.
That's just Triskelion. That's all he needs.
And had he been at 3 more, if he would, is it 4 instead of, he would have been dead if Tim didn't split the Tetravus. He'd already be dead, but 1 is not a place you want to be.
Yeah. If Lorenzo can get a Triskelion and a Stormseeker, he could potentially kill Tim with those 2 cards. It's a stretch, but possible.
It's possible.
Okay, so Tim is drawing here with the Jaloom Tome. We're seeing the Jaloom Tome just do so much work for Tim, drawing and drawing and drawing. this is why Detonate can be quite a bit better, or Scavenger Folk, than Jalum Tome. And Tim drawing again. Just drawing. He's going to come into that Triskelion drawing like this.
I also really like Scavenger Folk with Pendelhaven, because then he can be like an actual threat.
That's right. It's like another Kurdape. And once he's not useful anymore, well, then, you know, you just
blow something up.
Blow something up. That's right. Okay, 6 cards for Tim. Now would be time for Stormseeker number 2.
Won't do enough to finish Tim off, though.
Six cards.
I actually don't know how he wins. I don't know what his path to victory is.
Well, this is part of it. Now, I bet you Tim's going to remove soul this. Yeah, he's just been sitting on that remove soul. And nothing that Lorenzo can do there.
Yeah, he can't really let a track resolve. That would be rough.
But that was Lorenzo's path, right? If he could get that Triskelion down and then Stormseeker, for 5 or 6, and then pop off.
Well, the track alone would kill him. I mean, he could swing for 4 and then swing for 4 again, and then pop the counters off of it. So.
Yeah.
A trike would do it. I keep forgetting he has trikes in his deck, but everybody does, for the most part.
I mean, this Jalum Tome is winning Tim the game here. It's just allowing him to draw and ditch all these lands.
It's done a crazy amount of work, for sure.
Well, Tim's looking through his graveyard. I feel like the writing is on the wall for Lorenzo. It's just a matter of time. But he could have another Triskelion. He's got, let's see, how many is he playing? I think he's playing 3 in his deck.
How many remove souls does Tim have in his deck?
So Tim has 2 remove souls main and 1 in the side.
Oh, well. He's got answers then, I suppose.
Yeah, I think this is his 2nd remove soul, so there's 1 more. And then there's the mana drain. Okay.
Just doubling down on these beasts.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I guess he could try for an alpha strike, attack with both beasts and Inferno in the same turn. And
Tim can prevent it all.
Yeah. No, he can prevent... He's only got 2 planes, so he couldn't prevent it all. Oh, but here's the Triskelion, and that's game.
Oh, I guess you're right, because his tundras are...
yeah.
His tundras are mountains. But yeah.
Well, that's game for Tim right there, because the Triskelion can just
pop him for 1.
Just pop Lorenzo for 1, so that's game over. Let's go ahead and listen in. I'm sure that's what these guys are saying.
Response, I'd like to, just for the sake of it, to cast an Inferno on everything, but
Yeah, and I'll
no, don't prevent it. Okay, no problem. Yeah, you got it.
Good game, sir.
Good game. Yeah. Wow.
I was holding Flash Flood for the longest if I needed.
All right. Well, as expected, Tim was able to come out on top 2-0. This was a really tough matchup for Lorenzo any way you cut it. The Juxtapose, the power of the Juxtapose deck really shining through here for Tim. And Tim emerges victorious versus Lorenzo Richetta's Erhnam's Lust. What a match, and quite a long game for a 2-0 matchup. But some great decks, some real cool innovation. And thank you for joining us today for Four Horsemen Tournament number 19 Finals. If you want to play some Four Horsemen Old School Magic, check us out at fourhorsemenmagic.com. And we will be signing off. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.